look, when I was young, at school, even in primary school, I used to always be quite a good drawer. People used to always say, other kids, they'd say, oh, you're going to be an artist when you grow up, which is not the easiest thing to achieve in Australia, and I never really took much notice of that. And in fact, in seniors, where I went to school, there was no art class, nothing like that, so you just didn't even think about it. And then I became a sign writer for a while. I was a sign writer for 10 years, and then I stopped doing that when the computers came out, the vinyl signs. I thought, well, people are happy with that, well, what am I doing? And then I bought a car wrecking business. We wrecked French cars, and I did that for 9 or 10 years, but in the last year of that I started playing with the parts there and seeing shapes in them and welding them together, just for a bit of therapy really, and it went from there. Look, I think when I was doing that, those first couple of sculptures I did when we had the wrecking business, and I'd put them on the counter and people would come in and say, oh gee, they're good and blah blah blah, but after I'd done maybe half a dozen, I could see how much I'd improved in that time, and I could actually see that I had a talent that I really didn't know that I had before that. So I actually made a conscious decision to sort of see how far I could take it. I pretty well use entirely used car parts, the odd bit of bicycle or the occasional bit of motorcycle, but it's nearly all car parts. Getting them, I've got a mate who still has a wrecking business. I have been out of that for a long time. I go to swap meets and buy a lot of this stuff. These spark plugs, they can be a bit of an ordeal. You'd think spark plugs are easy to get, but at the time I had this piece to do, I also had 2 polar bears to do for the Philadelphia Zoo in America, and I reckoned I needed 8,000 spark plugs to do these 2 pieces, so I had buckets all over Brisbane, all the workshops there, asking could they put the spark plugs in. The most important thing is to get a really strong picture in your mind of what you want to achieve in the finished piece, either being the personality that you've got to try and get the personality of the piece or the movement or the stance in a natural sort of way, and that getting that strong vision in your head and being able to bring that to reality is what makes or breaks the piece. Coming up with the idea, the piece that you want to make, that gets harder as time goes on, because you've done so many pieces. But it can be as simple as you see something, you can see a picture somewhere of a particular car or animal, or might be watching a TV show and you just get a glimpse of something, you think, oh gee, that'd make a good sculpture. And then of course it goes from there to trying to get the idea, and then also the next step is finding the parts you need, and sometimes that's the end of it, because you just can't find what you need, and other times you do. I wouldn't say that I have a fascination with car parts, to be honest, but it is interesting, all the different shapes, but probably the weirdest thing that I would say that I think when I do a piece like this, it can never happen, but I would love to know the history of all these parts. This hubcap, which is from a 1930s Ford, and you say, well, who was the first owner of that car? Who was the guy that built it? How many people have touched that? In the last 80 years. Who've had a connection with that? And then you do that for all of these parts, and it would be a fantastic story. I like dogs to do, because there's such a variety of shapes and sizes, and everyone is familiar with how a dog acts. So even though people may not realise it, subconsciously they know how a dog expresses itself. So if you get the eyes right, you get the ears in the right place, because a dog talks with his ears as much as he does anything else. So you get all that right, and it looks right. And So that's a lot of fun because they're all so different, and in a way they're also sort of goofy, you know, dogs. They're interesting things. And I really like the old speed machines, you know, the motorbikes and the cars. And the wilder they were, the real thing, the better, you know. Like I look at some of those things and they're just so beastie, you know, like just you think, oh, these people obviously have no imagination about death. It's just, you know, you do get quite a bit of pleasure just from people seeing the work and enjoying the work, whether or not they, you know, are in the position to buy the work. It doesn't matter. So you can get a really good response from little kids through to people that are quite elderly in all walks of life, which is something I get a bit of a kick out of. But obviously, you know, we need to sell work.